We're back with another episode of Politics and Painting. Buckle up, Buttercup. As of January 28th, Tuesday, today, all federal grants, loans, including small business loans, including education grants, including research funds for medical facilities, everything except Social Security and Medicare is frozen. This includes grants for the arts that come from federal funding. So if you are an artist like me who depends on paying your rents, anything that you need to live, you definitely need to be talking with your grant coordinator for any grants that you've been awarded over the past year but maybe haven't been paid out yet. Check in with your grant coordinator. You know, they're not going to have all the answers either. What you need to ask is if any of your grants are supported by federal funding, and that federal funding might be frozen and it might not come back. Start thinking about alternative ideas. If you had this past year planned out based on a federal grant you may have gotten, just know that those might not be actually awarded to you in financial terms anymore. The administration has said that their purpose in doing this is to create an audit to make sure that any federal funds that have been awarded are in line with the Trump administration's policy agenda. What they have said in their language, and any program found to support DEI initiatives, to support any quote unquote woke agenda, which is literal language they use, any Green New Deal, green energy programs, it's all suspended. So check in with your bosses if you work for a nonprofit. Again, if you're an artist, check with any grant coordinators that you might need to have some questions answered. Start making plans, guys, because we are going to see a big drop in the ability for us as artists and producers and creators to make money. With that being said, support artists on their Patreon, on their Etsy's. Buy local art if you have the means to. Please support local artists. It's incredibly important right now. It's important that artists are able to have their voice and speak. Let's be honest. If the administration is doing an audit to make sure that any grants put forth support the Trump administration's policies, half of our art is not going to qualify under that. It's going to be they're going to consider it a woke agenda, because art is considered a woke agenda. Artists aren't going to pass that litmus test. So I guess what you're going to see is a bunch of your federal grant money for the arts going to people who make AI art of Trump as Jesus making out with Elon Musk. And that's the only thing that is going to get past these new policies for grant money for the arts. All this federal aid has been pre-approved by Congress. This administration has proven that they clearly just don't care about what is legal, what isn't legal. This comes after it has already been announced that aid across the globe has been cut, with the exception of military aid and funding for Israel and Egypt. And this is a very anti-Palestinian policy. All aid to the Ukraine that has been helping them in their war has now been cut. HIV medication, which the US supplies a good amount to the globe to help cut down on HIV transmission around the world, be shipped out anymore. It also has specifically been rated from pharmacies that it's already sitting on their shelves and it's now being put in storage. Why would they do this? I think it's a big F you to Bill Gates, honestly, because Bill Gates sat at Mar-a-Lago and tried to talk with Trump about how important HIV research is and funding HIV research, trying to get him to understand, the importance of that. But Bill Gates obviously isn't going along with his agenda, so I personally think that he's just doing it as a big F you to Bill Gates, is my personal belief. When that announcement was made, Presidenta Sheinbaum de Mexico, President of Mexico, was already in Europe signing trade agreements with key EU leaders. Canada, Mexico, and the EU have been preparing since it was announced that Trump was elected for the downfall of this country, essentially what they're going to do, because the global economy is so dependent on America. Global currency is in US dollars, right? So that's an issue. So Scheinbaum was in the EU and was already making EU trade agreements, making Mexico the linchpin for trading in North America and on this entire side of the hemisphere, to be completely honest. This comes after Canada and Mexico have already refused to sell us steel. In other global economic news, what also happened yesterday is DeepSeek, an open source AI platform from China, got put on the App Store. Grants, all the oligarchs who've been using federal grants and federal loans in order to support developing AI, who say they need trillions and trillions of taxpayer money in order to support the advancement of AI technology, basically got their asses handed to them yesterday. The stock market effectively just tumbled hard. A lot of companies have been using their new AI as their new go-to model for downgrading the amount of employees you need, blah, 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 as well as getting these government grants in order to fund their, research. But basically the oligarchs just had their asses handed to them yesterday. And what we all learned is that they didn't need trillions and trillions of dollars, and they still don't, which is earmarked for the future to take from American taxpayers in order to fund these things. And if there's one that's out there for free, guess what? That's what's going to happen. With it being open source, it's also, our information is kept private now. We can use this without fear of our artwork being stolen. Maybe China will be the one to save us from this prison that we're all living in of oligarch technology. All the grant money that has gone to these billionaires, so Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg for Meta, like the people who are paid out the most with grant money from the US government is literally these people, which is why they're in the pockets of Trump. Because they want more government grant money that taxpayers are ultimately forced to pay them because we have to pay our taxes or not. Money, if that grant money keeps getting siphoned off to just these technology bros, and we're going to see that money stop being funneled to the arts, because the arts is what speaks out against these inequalities, against government when it's messing up. It is the driving force behind changing people's ideologies. It's about educating people. It's about, justice. It's about having a voice and being heard for the people. That's what art is. Even under duress and hard circumstances, which we've seen in the past, there's like small symbolism that speaks out, that goes over like people's heads at the time, and then we recognize later in the future, etc., etc. That's what we're trying to do right now. That's all we can do right now. And the Trump administration is trying to silence us. And we need to not be silenced. So please, support your local artists. Support them. Give Venmo them money if they're losing money currently because of the grant freeze. Stay educated, guys. This is it. Peace. Politics and painting.